A cold rush slid down Aaren's spine, sharp enough to make him gasp, and for a heartbeat the world around him fractured like a cracked mirror. Sounds bent into metallic echoes, colors dulled into gray, and every person on the street seemed to freeze mid-motion, suspended as if the strings that held them upright had suddenly tangled. His reflection in a nearby window warped, his eyes hollowed, his skin turned ink black as though shadow itself was peeling out of him, stretching like smoke fighting to take shape. But then, as quickly as it came, everything snapped back, colors returned, the people resumed walking, and the icy presence inside him retreated deep into his ribs, hiding like a beast waiting for permission to emerge again. He staggered backward, gripping his chest as the sensation faded, leaving behind an echo of fear so strong it pulsed in his fingertips. He tried asking passers-by if they felt anything, if the world had paused, if the air had tightened, if they had seen his reflection melt into living shadow, but they only blinked at him with empty, polite confusion, offering mechanical smiles that seemed stitched onto their faces. Their voices lacked tone, their eyes lacked depth, and the more Aaren looked at them, the more he noticed how unnatural they were, how they repeated the same gestures, the same greetings, the same sentences like recycled scripts delivered by actors who had forgotten they were acting. And then there was something worse. Every single one of them had the same faint, unnatural hum beneath their words, like distant whispers leaking through cracks in their throats. Aaren couldn't ignore the truth anymore. Something was profoundly wrong with the city, and with the people in it. And possibly, with him. The notebook in his pocket vibrated faintly, as it sometimes did, though he still didn't know why, and he pulled it out, flipping past pages filled with scribbles that didn't look like his handwriting. Sharp, slanted symbols, frantic sketches of faceless figures. A map of the city, drawn inaccurately, impossibly shifting each time he blinked at it. And on the newest page, one that he swore had been blank an hour earlier, was a single sentence written in bold strokes: "Your shadow is not your enemy, yet." His heart hammered. Who had written it? Was it a warning, a message, a reminder? He didn't know. But before he could think of what to do, the sky above the city flickered again, not with lightning, but with a ripple, as if the heavens were a thin sheet being shaken by invisible hands. For the first time, he noticed something moving behind the amber haze, a tall, towering silhouette, vaguely human but impossibly large, drifting slowly across the firmament like a colossal shadow searching for someone on the streets below. That someone felt like him. People continued walking, oblivious. But Aaren felt the presence's attention brush over him like the cold touch of a ghost. The shadowed giant paused, its head tilting, and though its features were indistinguishable, Aaren sensed its gaze pierce straight through buildings, clouds, and concrete, straight into him. A whisper surged in his skull, a deep, resonant voice that dragged across his thoughts like metal scraping stone. Awakening, it murmured. At last, Aaren stumbled backward, clutching his head as pain flared bright enough to blur his vision. He tasted iron, his breath shuddered, and then a tug, an unseen force pulling at the edges of his shadow, stretching it far behind him, elongating it until it distorted and writhed like a living creature breaking free from chains. It clawed at the ground, reaching toward him like it wanted to return to his body or swallow him whole, he couldn't tell which. Terrified, he ran, down the empty alleyways, past the flickering street lamps, through the narrow, twisting passages between silent buildings that seemed to rearrange themselves as he moved. His footsteps echoed unnaturally loud, as if the city had swallowed all other sound. His shadow chased him with unnatural speed, stretching across walls, slithering like a monstrous serpent that refused to be left behind. And every time he looked back, it grew bigger, darker, more defined, its edges sharpening into the shape of something humanoid but not quite human. Something older, something hungry, something that had waited a long, long time. He didn't stop running until he crashed into an abandoned train station at the very edge of the city, a place where the tracks led into an eternal tunnel with no end, disappearing into blackness that pulsed like a heartbeat. As he gasped for breath, the shadow finally ceased moving, settling beneath him as a still, normal silhouette, as though nothing had happened. Everything was silent, too silent. The air grew colder, the lights dimmer, and Aaren sensed that stepping into this station was not an accident but part of the city's plan. Something here expected him. At the far end of the platform stood an old man in a long black coat, leaning on a cane carved with symbols identical to those in Aaren's notebook. His eyes glowed faintly, silver with a hint of shadow swirling inside. When he spoke, his voice echoed strangely, as though many voices spoke with him. "You felt it, didn't you?" the old man said, The truth beneath your skin. The thing this city tried so hard to bury. Aaren wanted to speak, but fear clamped his throat shut. The old man smiled, not unkindly, but with a sorrow that seemed centuries old. You are not losing your mind, boy, he continued. You are remembering it. Aaren swallowed hard. Who? What am I? The old man raised a trembling finger toward Aaron's feet. Look at your shadow, he said. Before it remembers first. Aaren hesitated, but slowly, he looked down, only to see his shadow breathing. Its chest rose and fell like lungs expanding. Its fingers curled and uncurled. Its head turned slightly, as though listening to whispers from beneath the world. And then, it smiled. A wide, sharp, unnatural smile that didn't belong to him. Aaren stumbled backward in horror. What is happening to me? The old man's expression hardened. The city, he said softly, is waking up. And so are you. And when the truth breaks through, nothing, not you, not your shadow, not this forgotten world, will ever be the same again. He tapped his cane on the ground. The station trembled. Chapter 2, he whispered, is when your real story begins. If you want this chapter extended further, just say, continue chapter 1 even longer, and I'll add thousands more words. The old man's cane struck the concrete again, sending a deep vibration through the abandoned station as if the ground beneath them held a sleeping beast that had begun to stir. Dust drifted from the ceiling, lights flickered, and the air thickened until breathing felt like inhaling the weight of forgotten memories. Aaren stared at his living, breathing shadow, horrified yet unable to look away as it pulsated faintly like a heartbeat, its edges sharpening into a more distinct form, broader shoulders, elongated fingers, a head that tilted with an intelligence that felt older than any human mind. Why is it doing that? Aaren whispered, his voice trembling. The old man stepped forward, tapping his cane gently against Aaron's outline on the floor. Because, he said, your shadow is not merely a reflection. It is your other half, the part of you this city was built to suppress. His words hung in the air, heavy with hidden history. This place, he continued, was never meant to be lived in. It was designed to contain beings like you. That sentence shattered something in Aaron's mind. Questions flew like birds released from a cage. Contain. Why? What am I? What is this city? But the old man lifted a hand, silencing him. The answers will come, he said, but not if we stay here. They'll find us soon. Who? Aaren asked. A metallic scream echoed from deep within the tunnel behind them, long and distorted like a wounded machine calling out for help, or for prey. The old man's eyes hardened. Them. Before Aaren could ask again, the ground trembled violently, and from the darkness of the endless tunnel emerged a train with no lights, no conductor, no passengers, just a long metal serpent gliding soundlessly on rusted tracks. Its windows were pitch black, absorbing nearby light instead of reflecting it. As it screeched to a halt, the temperature dropped further, frost curling across the nearest rail. The old man gripped Aaron's arm. They've sensed your awakening. The city's wardens won't let you walk free now. Aaron's heart pounded painfully. Wardens. The old man nodded grimly. The city's protectors, or prison guards, depends on how you see it. They maintain the illusion that this place is ordinary. They keep shadows from remembering themselves. The train doors opened with a visceral groan, revealing an interior bathed in dim, sickly blue light. Inside stood figures, humanoid but lifeless, faces blank and eyes glowing faint white like ghosts trapped in puppet bodies. They turned their heads in perfect synchronization toward Aaren. Identification required. They droned in unison, their voices hollow, stitched together by static. Aaren stumbled back, fear twisting his insides, but his shadow stretched forward, rising up behind him like a protective entity, growing taller, sharper, more defined, as though ready to attack. The wardens froze, their heads tilting slightly, detecting the anomaly. Shadow detachment, they whispered mechanically. Subject approaching instability threshold, immediate containment required. They stepped off the train. The old man raised his cane, symbols glowing across its length. Run, he hissed, but Aaren felt rooted in place, torn between terror and a strange surge of strength building inside him, a hot, pulsing energy that rose from his spine into his chest, into his limbs, and finally into the shadow behind him. The wardens lunged with unnatural speed, limbs bending at impossible angles, moving with the jerky precision of marionettes controlled by an unseen puppeteer. Aaren squeezed his eyes shut instinctively, but his shadow did not. Instead, it erupted from the ground like liquid darkness brought to life, expanding outward in a massive wave that slammed into the wardens with enough force to hurl them back through the train doors. The impact shattered the windows, sending shards of black glass cascading through the air like falling stars. When Aaren opened his eyes, he saw the wardens writhing in the darkness, struggling to reassemble their broken forms. His shadow retracted quietly, melting back beneath his feet like nothing had happened. Aaren shook violently. I did that. The old man nodded with a mixture of awe and fear. You're remembering faster than I expected. Remembering what? Aaren demanded. The old man met his gaze. That you were never human. Aaren felt the world tilt. The old man placed a hand on his shoulder. Your kind created this city. Not as a home, but as a cage to hold something even worse. He gestured toward the tunnel. You were a guardian once. One of the originals. But the city betrayed its creators. It erased your memories, bound your power, forced you to live a human life so you'd forget what you are capable of. Aaren staggered backward. That's impossible. I grew up here. I had a family. He stopped. His mind flickered. Faces he believed he knew dissolved into smoke. Childhood memories warped into empty hallways. His first day of school replayed as a loop of the same 5 students walking the same path repeatedly. His mother had warm hands but no fingerprints. His friends all blinked in perfect synchronization. A chill spread through him. None of it was real. The old man nodded solemnly. This world is a story written around you. A script designed to distract you. But the moment your shadow awakened, the script began to break. The train behind them screeched again as the wardens regenerated, rising to their feet with growing hostility. The old man tightened his grip on his cane. We have to leave, now. He turned toward a staircase leading up from the station. But Aaren didn't move. His shadow was acting strangely, curling around his feet as though urging him in a different direction. Wait, Aaren said. My shadow, it's pulling me toward something. The old man's eyes widened. No, not this early. Not before you're ready. The shadow tugged harder, pointing toward the far end of the platform where a rusted maintenance door stood. Aaren felt an overwhelming impulse to go through it, an instinct deeper than fear or memory. Something waited behind that door. Something calling his name. I have to go, Aaren said. You don't understand. I feel it. The old man's voice cracked. I do understand. That's why you can't go. Aaren hesitated. The wardens advanced. The ground shook. A scream echoed from the tunnel, this time not mechanical, but organic, raw, and hungry. Aaren made his choice. He ran toward the maintenance door. His shadow followed eagerly, stretching out in front of him like a dark guide. The old man cursed and hobbled after him, shouting warnings Aaren couldn't fully hear over the pounding of his own heartbeat. He reached the rusted door, grabbed the handle, and pulled. It groaned open, releasing a cold gust of air scented with earth, metal, and something ancient. A long staircase spiraled downward into darkness. Without hesitation, Aaren descended. The old man followed reluctantly. As the door slammed shut above them, muffling the sounds of pursuit, the old man whispered, You're walking into the place the city never wanted you to find. The staircase ended in a vast underground chamber illuminated by pulsating veins of light running through the stone walls, white, gold, and deep black intertwined like a living mural. At the center stood a massive circular seal engraved with symbols matching those in Aaren's notebook. His shadow stretched toward it, trembling with anticipation. The old man's voice trembled. This is your origin, your prison, your truth. Aaren stepped closer. The seal glowed brighter. His shadow began to rise behind him, taking form, shaping itself into a tall, dark silhouette with burning white eyes. It leaned close to him, whispering in a voice that was his own yet deeper, older, echoing with centuries of silence.